Welcome to Apropos. Residents are braced for what's forecast to be the worst storm to hit the US state in a century. Hurricane Milton is churning towards Florida's west coast and expected to make landfall late on Wednesday or early on Thursday morning. The Tampa Bay area, home to more than 3.3 million people, is facing the possibility of widespread destruction. Charlotte County is being placed under curfew from tonight. With the very latest, here's Yinka Oyetade.
The US Air Force takes to the skies, getting up close and personal with Hurricane Milton. There may be an eerie calm above as the storm swells towards Florida, but on the ground, it's a different story. Hours before it's expected to hit the state, Milton has already triggered at least 2 tornadoes. It's just a taste of what's to come from a hurricane that officials warn will be catastrophic and deadly.
Winds will be fierce at well over 100 miles per hour, with storm surges reaching up to 15 feet and up to 18 inches of rain. It's looking like the storm of the century.
Evacuation orders are currently in place in 11 counties across Florida, triggering huge traffic jams on the roads. This was the scene earlier on a highway coming out of Tampa City along Florida's Gulf Coast, the first area in Milton's path. There's a mass exodus underway in other parts of the state too.
I'm tired of prepping. I'm thinking running around since like 3 or 4 days constantly and prepping, and it's just exhausting.
Everybody's got anxiety, like PTSD sinking in.
Despite the warnings, some say they'll stay put. Vice President Kamala Harris says that's a bad idea.
If you are told to evacuate, please evacuate immediately.
For President Biden, the battle in Florida isn't just against Milton, but also against disinformation spread by Republican nominee Donald Trump.
It's harmful to those who need help the most. There is simply no place for this to happen. Former President Trump has led the onslaught of lies.
It comes after Trump and the Republicans pushed false claims over the storms targeting the Federal Emergency Management Agency while falsely accusing the government of misappropriating its funds for migrants. But politics couldn't be further from the minds of some residents here. All they're worrying about is surviving what's expected to be a historic storm.
Well, for more on this monster storm and what it tells us about climate change, we're joined now by James Douris, meteorologist at the Disaster Risk Reduction Division of the World Meteorological Organization. Thank you so much for being with us on the programme this evening. You are yourself, I believe, very familiar with Florida. You have family also who have been evacuated from the path of this hurricane. Firstly, how are they and where are they now?
They did evacuate. They have a house on the coast of near Fort Myers, and they evacuated to Cleveland, Ohio, where they have family there.
So they are safe. Do they believe that this hurricane is going to be very different to what has previously hit the area from their experience?
Well, fortunately, their house sits pretty high as compared to the sea level, so they are not as concerned. This hurricane is hitting further north, and so the wind and storm surge will be less than Hurricane Ian in 2022. It's
been described as a once-in-a-century event. Why and how has it been strengthening so rapidly?
Well, this is one of the things that increased ocean temperatures do. And ocean temperatures, when they are warm, that is fuel that is just sitting there waiting for the opportune time and a hurricane, or I should say even a tropical storm, to develop and use that energy to increase its strength rapidly. Rapid intensification is something that we've done a lot of research in over the past decade or so, and we've seen that storms have been, we've seen a trend as far as rapid intensification, especially in these warm waters. And in the Gulf of Mexico at that time, during Hurricane Milton, when it first formed, the temperatures were quite high, and the conditions were perfect for it to rapidly intensify. And it was really astonishing as to how fast it intensified from a minimal hurricane to a Category 5 in a short time, and reaching wind speeds of 180 miles per hour. It was truly remarkable.
And is it inevitable then that we're going to see ever more powerful storms in the future and greater numbers of these hurricanes?
Well, there are a lot of components that make up a hurricane. There are many things that can limit hurricane intensity. But one thing that we do know is that as the tropical seasons continue year after year with warmer temperatures in the oceans, you will find that these storms have the potential to reach catastrophic levels, just like this one.
And James, you specialise in tropical cyclones and also disaster risk reduction. So how can governments realistically reduce the risks associated with storms like this?
Preparedness. Having alert systems, and this is something that the World Meteorological Organization is really focusing on to increase the coverage and usability of warnings across the world. Another aspect is in preparedness is that people should know their risk to storm surge. Most people are killed within the storm surges or the flash flooding that occurs. So they need to know what their risk level, their escape plans, and when to evacuate. When the governments give the advice, or should I say, the word that they need to evacuate, they should evacuate. In Florida, this has been very much a success story. They are very, very well practiced. We just had Hurricane Helene that was fresh on the minds of many people in Florida, and they evacuated very quickly, including my family, which did not hesitate to evacuate this time.
Nevertheless, some people do decide to stay in their homes despite the risks, despite the warnings that are being issued around the clock at this point. What would your advice be for them?
You can't really save your house or do anything for your house, but you can save your lives. And this is very important. Just the risk of you losing your life to stay in your household is really a huge cost to your family that is extended, as well as to your children and that. It is important that people heed the advice of the authorities and know when they need to leave when there is a risk like this. Storm surges are very swift, and they can be very deep like this. They're looking at anywhere from 10 to 15 feet. When that moves in, it's almost like a surge of a tidal wave, moves in over the land very quickly, and before you know it, you have no escape routes. So it's important that you heed the advice of the authorities and the governments to be able to evacuate, and then you can go back and rebuild with government assistance.
And James, I'm not sure if you saw it, but a video of another meteorologist, it went viral earlier after he got emotional on air during an interview talking about climate change, talking about this hurricane. And he spoke afterwards about being frustrated about the failure, really, of world leaders to do more to prevent these kind of catastrophes and to do more about climate change. Do you feel, as a meteorologist, that people are listening, are heeding the warnings?
I hope they are listening, and I hope they are heeding it. It is very important to learn about natural hazards, what they can do, the risk that they pose for your particular area, and how to recognize them and be able to avoid the catastrophic impacts. That's what adaptation is, and being able to adapt to the current situation that we have today, especially with the numerous numbers of people that are moving along the coast that may be new to these areas that are prone to tropical cyclones and other hazards, and so that they learn about these particular areas and be able to reduce their risk of loss of life and property as well.
James, we'll have to leave it there for now, but thank you so much for your time on the programme. We do appreciate it. That is James Douris, meteorologist in the Disaster Risk Reduction Division of the World Meteorological Organization. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Well, do stay with us. Up next.